In this video, we're going to discuss mapping rules. Mapping rules can be thought of as mini workflows that can be applied to a specific field in a mapping template. Mapping rules modify values after they have been mapped by the template via conditions and actions like if-then statements. Mapping rules can be applied on any mapping template, whether you're dealing with an integration operation like a get inventory primary from a supplier providing a CSV file, as well as internal processes like a listing builder, for instance. You can find all of your configured mapping rules under Settings, Mapping, and then by clicking on Rules. You can see I have some configured on my builders, as well as on these Get Inventory primary files and Shopify published products. I do recommend adding rules on the actual operation that you're working on. So for example, those Get Inventory primaries, I'll show you now. As you click through on one of your sources, a common use case we might see as you click through save and proceed, and click into the mapping template is potentially editing a brand. So I've had this rule added here. You can always add new rules on any of the values by clicking this button here. If you wanted to add one on category 1, same thing. But essentially, once you hit new rule, name your rule, you'll have an if-then statement to construct. So essentially, in this example, we're looking at the incoming value. The incoming value represents, the value coming from this particular column on this file and being mapped to the brand. So when we look at the file, if we see that the brand is Apple Inc., like that, we're going to want to set it to just Apple, like so. You can test your individual rules by clicking on Test Rule, Run Test, given the right parameters are in the proper fields, and you can see the logic that takes place in order to apply these rules. If you wanted to test the whole entire workflow, you can also apply multiple rules and test the whole workflow by adding this button here. So you can see I have another example rule for a brand modification for Nike. We can take a look at that rule, see that this is the value that we're looking for. So essentially, when we test this entire workflow, we could see the brand equals that. We run that test, and you can see it skipped the Apple logic because it didn't see that value, and it modified the Nike brand to what we set it up to do. This was an example of a mapping rule on an integration mapping template, like our Get Inventory primary. But like I alluded to earlier, you can also add this on your listing builders. So if we go back to our mapping rules and we click into our listing builders, another common use case is that certain channels we work with won't allow you to put your products up as listings if that weight field is missing. So in this instance, we could add a rule. Basically, again, incoming value, since we're adding it on that weight field, does not exist, then we can set that incoming value to 1. We would save our rule, and you can test it all the same, just like before. Works on any of the mapping templates where you're applying those rules. So to wrap things up, mapping rules can be applied on any of the mapping templates, on any of the fields inside of Flxpoint. They're used to manipulate data or kind of make some changes that you might want to see or reflect inside of your Flxpoint system or on your website, channel, whatever you're selling your products on. So thanks for watching this video on mapping rules. If you still have any questions, reach out to our support team and we'll be happy to assist you.